Hey, movement, what's up? Hey, movement. Oh, we're listening to ourselves, that's why. All right. Let's get right in to what I was actually doing before, so let's just continue. It is going good, thank you very much. We are doing the sort of redesign second pass on this character. Needed something which was more of a statement clothing-wise. And I fixed a bunch of perspective and stuff. Generally just improved the pose, improved anatomy, blah blah blah. A lot of it's a lot better now. That's good. I need to do something to these before I forget what the intention was. Okay, so we just need to attach the arms again now. So essentially before the arms were like big sleeves, and I struggled with that idea quite a bit because I wanted them to be quite wide set. Could never really get it to fit properly. I now think I just need to sort of completely detach them and have them as peripheral objects, which is sort of a shame because I did like how integrated they were here, but I can't find a good way to do it, and so I'm not going to. Instead, I think trying to show the connection point, because that's what I think I need to do, is just show something which makes it feel more mechanical, more solid. I don't want to just sort of skip over that kind of thing. And I'll probably go for like a big ring shape in each shoulder. And then I can show the connective parts within that. The sort of mechanical bits. Uber Blackthorn, hello. Kawaii Ichigochi. What's up? How you all doing? On this fine evening. I am indeed still doing Mystery Box. Yep, that's what I'm doing here. And this character's Mystery Box. The 4D cube at the top. Well, the 4D chest. Okay, arms. Let's do some arms. We can first erase this. Goodbye. Let's tidy this up a little bit. And then we should be able to work out whether the silhouette's looking good earlier quite easy. The nice thing about keeping lines relatively tidy means that I can just select the outside, invert, and make get a quick preview of what the silhouette will be like. And I do find this very useful because when it comes to painting, that's going to be one of the most important things. I think, at least. And actually, I've realized that this might allow me to keep this hollow in the middle, which is nice. I often like having a negative shape within. So let's bring that opacity back and erase from here. Awesome. In fact, as a quick test, we can do exactly what I was saying. Let's see how that'll look. Ignoring the fact that the arms are missing. Not too fussed about what the arms will look like. I'm kind of just more curious about... Yeah, the body now reads remarkably well. Even though so much of it is covered up with cloth, I still want there to be like a silhouette that's understandable, essentially from silhouette alone. So the previous one, because this chunk was missing, if I take that away, you could clearly see the pose that they were making, and I don't think I've covered up the fact that you can still see the pose. And I think that's, for me, that's very important, or at least it's something I like to try and add to any of the characters. So far, I think they all have poses which you can read from silhouette alone. And that's good. I don't want it to be too confusing, because I want the viewer to spend time, like, you know, appreciating the design within it and stuff like that, rather than kind of squinting and slowly working out what the pose is. Like, the pose should be the immediate read. There should be no doubt in it. And so, if it can come from silhouette and silhouette only, then I think that's always preferable. Hey Russell, how you doing? So nice of you to join. Your entry's looking great so far. How's it going? Are you confident? Do you think you're going to have plenty of time to render them up and stuff? So I'm feeling like time-wise, there shouldn't be too much issue. Ideally, I'm going to finish it before the deadline, because my partner comes back to visit then, and I don't want to just be constantly working on art while she's here. Especially if it's like a deadline thing, because then I will just stay up late to get it done. Oh, you've been lurking. Lovely. You signed up for 3, so you need to speed things up. At first I was hoping that there might be room to do multiple. I mean, what I'd really love to do is drop everything else and like try learning some animation. Like, it's not going to be good enough to compete, but I would love to do that at some point. And in fact, today I was just browsing a bunch of animation and just starting to sort of think about what I would want to make and what sort of style I'd do and all that kind of thing. I think what it would be worth doing is learning how to use Blender for it, so that I can really make use of 3D and you know, all the stuff that I've been doing with like Gravity Sketch recently. And then sort of just try and blend the two, so like I'm thinking along the lines of 3D for like the base of characters and things, and then it would be nice to then occasionally like paint in faces. So if I keep everything like a graphic style, and maybe try and get some sort of shader that does a graphic render, then yeah, just painting on expressions or specific expressions if I need them, and otherwise relying on 3D to do most of the work. I mean, the way I say it makes it seem like it's going to be easy, but yeah, I have no idea. The other problem with animations, I know it's just going to take ages, so it wasn't on the table this time. But I'm very keen to see what animations get made for the challenge. I think that'd be really cool. Yeah, grease pencil, exactly. Like, I just saw, because I was going through the recent Blender releases, I needed to install one so that I could use the denoiser. And, you know, they had a big update to, like, the grease pencil brushes. Stuff which basically looks like it's allowing you to do far more intricate things with, like, 2D animation in Blender. Animation is just an extension of drawing, so it seems somewhat natural. Yeah, kind of. Like, the thing is, the thing I know that's going to hold me back is technical know-how, like, in terms of software and patience. I'm kind of, like, confident if I had all the time in the world, my current training in drawing and stuff would mean that I will work on something until it looks good. Like, I have the sort of critical eye to constantly improve something, but that could take forever. Because it's all about, like, knowing how to make the improvement. And with a new tool, that's where you go in having no idea how to do that, let alone even create the thing that you're trying to improve on. So, I don't know. I think a lot of experimentation will be needed. Have I seen ... Oh, I don't have Twitch open on my browser. Let's do that. Actually, I'm just going to use Streamlabs. It's easier. Yes, I believe I did. But I didn't spend long to look at it, because at the time I wasn't thinking about it. I was like, nah, I probably won't ever do that. That's a really good point. This is a great video to go back to and look at. Okay, shoulders. So let's roughly find the structure I want. I want it to, like, flatten and widen at the top. And I think going for a structure that's easily understood is probably the best way to communicate their form. So in this case, I'm going to go with circle. I might, however, duck it down so that it doesn't touch the box. I would rather the box was totally unconnected from the silhouette. Unconnected. Disconnected. So, something like this. Maybe I'll keep this split coming down like that. I quite like the idea of sneaking in some teardrop shapes, kind of like the one here. It's a motif very closely associated with the eye, and then I feel like it's the leader of any group is often going to have to go through some sort of difficult decision or whatever. It's kind of like representing emotions and things, like, or clearly communicating emotions and things. I'm not sure. There doesn't have to be an amazingly deep reason for it, I just quite like it. I think it makes sense. And then I'm going to have the cut through and some sort of structure that is holding onto that arm. So it's going to be a bit messy on that side. Yeah, and then essentially we'll see a big split coming down here, I suppose. Big gap in the silhouette, which might be cool. I think I'll test it out actually, and see if it is cool or not. And if it ain't cool, I'll find a different solution, because that won't be hard to implement. I'm currently feeling like I probably won't like it. Let's have a look. Oh, no, there's a hole. Close the holes. It's sort of interesting. It's quite nice that it separates that shape completely. But it does make it feel a little separate from the body. I don't know, chat. What do you think? Dropship is at a level where you can rotate the 3D figure in space, so just have some fun with bouncing ball type stuff and then start making your own animation. Seems simple to me, fam. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. It's just like, okay, so I do the bouncing ball exercise, tick, and now I can animate. Easy peasy. Are you doing a fine-tuning pass on all designs you've established now? Yeah, exactly. So I'm going through one by one and just giving them the second pass, the tweak that makes them more polished, fit the theme that I want better, like the theme of each character, and yeah, fix things like perspective and stuff, because these will be the shots that I then actually use to paint over. You've been digging real deep into Blender in the last few months, so you'd be happy to help. So it can be exponential if someone who's encountered problems for me to learn about. That would be great, yeah. I mean, it'll be a while, because obviously this challenge will have to end, and I've got a couple of illustrations I need to finish. But I would really like to, and I have an idea that I'd like to pair it with some music, make some music, and then just make like essentially a music video for it. I don't want to do anything with voice and lip syncing and stuff like that, or any real like plot. That's all stuff that's just save that till later. And so yeah, just something that's like visual and fun, and I want to make it real visceral. By then you'll be a Blender monster. Excellent. Alright, the other question is, do I split this open? I think ultimately that's a yes. I think this provides a nice bit of interest. It gets a little more messy on this side. But it would look something like this. Yeah, I mean, like, just from the silhouette alone, it now makes it feel like there's something mechanical going on. I think that's necessary to make the arms feel legitimate. So, yeah, I think this will do. Zico, hello. I do indeed do the ArtStation challenge. Meanwhile, Ben Mara likes to play with volumetric fog versus cotton socks. That man is nothing but raw ambition. Yeah. So, I was using the volumetric shader, obviously not for an animation. That would be hell because it massively boosts the time it takes to render anything. But I used it for my recent Instagram piece. I'll put it on screen real quick so y'all can see it. This one. Oh, little fishies. Well, big fishies. I'm amazed at how well it looked, or how well it turned out. Basically, it was just a cycles render and putting on the fog to like 0.05 or something, a blue scatter volume, and it just looks good. I was very surprised. So the model itself was just in Gravity Sketch. Exported that, subdivided a couple of the shapes so that things like these areas would become smooth, because from Gravity Sketch these are pretty sharp corners, and so I just smoothed it out. And then, yeah, things like this too. You can still see a bit of that polygon, but like before, it was looking like this sort of thing where it was like there were two polys for that edge. So yeah, just put subdivision of 3 on those, and yeah. So then, so I'll show you exactly what it looked like coming out of the render, and I've just put like bloom in on Photoshop and boosted the colors and stuff. But this was straight from the render, so it's just paler. And the only like real edit I made, because, and I need to look into this, because Gravity Sketch exports as a triangulated mesh. You get this weird thing when you're subdividing it, because it's subdividing triangles. Oh, can I draw here? Yeah, here we go. So it has quads, or it has what look like clean quads underneath. But then all of them are divided in half. And then what it does now is it subdivides these by doing this, which looks real weird. When you see it on the mesh, you're like, huh? What's going on? But this like causes like a strange dent pattern. And so that's what you're seeing here. It's like this strange dent. I don't know. It's an odd one. I haven't really found I haven't looked into it yet to find a fix, but I'm assuming we can just get Gravity Sketch to export quads for me instead. Alt-J to untriangulate. As in just in Blender, you can Alt-J and untriangulate? Is that possible? Seriously? We're loading up Blender, boys. Because I had split apart and done a bunch of weird things, what we're going to do is just open... Oh, no. Import the raw file again. No, I don't want that. Is it in edit mode? You have to press Alt J, or is it? I'm assuming it's in edit mode. It can't be that simple. I mean, presumably it's only going to work for like specific areas of triangulation. What do I want? I want to... Yeah, here we go. So you can see the quads, and it's like, they exist, but it's just triangulated everything. I guess what I'm curious about is on the ends, on the end caps. Yeah, so on the end caps, it sort of looks like the only bit that needs to be triangulated is here. And all of this stuff should be fine if you just took away this line. I've got to do this real quick. And then also change that to my default, but whatever. Yeah. So then a surface. These are the surface bits, and the same thing was happening to these. But yeah, these are also just happily quads. Okay, let's try the Control-J then. Alt-J even. Select a bunch. Alright. I mean, that pretty much fixed it where it needed to be fixed. We got some goofy bits. Wow. Okay, well, I'm still gonna look... I'm still gonna look to see if there's a proper way to fix this from Gravity Sketch, but otherwise this looks great. So then all I need to do is recalculate normals, presumably. I forget how I do that. Any tips? How do you recalculate the normals? There we go. Ah, Shift N. Thought that was a simple one. It's still not very happy. But you can see it's unhappy in the places that have mostly remained triangles. Interesting. Well, that's very useful to know, because for most of this scene, that's just like halved the poly count and made it suitable for subdivision. So real quick, essentially I was taking bits like this, specifically because I wanted to be able to subdivide the legs so that I didn't have such harsh polygons at the edges. And then the result of it was, yeah, look, I've got this kind of weird pinching effect, and this is where it's staged triangular, but then everywhere else, or in most other places, it's now really nice and smooth. So it's still going to be a bit of a problem. I mean, she's got like lumpy wrists, but everywhere else it's actually remarkably good. So that's very helpful. What's that? Sculpting mode, remesh. Let's see what that does. Remesh, set a reasonable voxel size. Remesh. What would you say a reasonable voxel size is? Oh no. She has no legs left, only toes. That means smaller voxel size, presumably. Ah, I see. Cool. All right, well, let's do that again. I have no legs and yet I must scream. It's definitely doing like a stretchy thing around the surface. And this is of course a bit pointless because it's now just matching the previous geometry exactly. Unfortunately, it seems like it's not going to work. In the context I need it to particularly well. Just because we're getting like this squidging in here. But like if I was to go back through and just edit some of these bits, it might be quite nice. But the main thing is actually I can see, you can get a sense that the banding or the original layout of the chords is kind of still represented. It's good to know though, because with other shapes like this body, like remeshing that would be great because it would just kind of blend this stuff together. There's quite a lot of geometry in the rear of the knee, yeah, because it's a tube that's been squished, so the way it's a stroke, so yeah, the way Gravity Sketch sees it, it has as much geometry as in front of the knee, just crushed down into a single point. It's pure chaos. If I go inside it, you'll see it's like, yeah, you'll see that it's still there. All of the information's still there. It's just overlaid on itself. Because it's a stroke. It's not like a voxel thing. Anyway, that's enough of that. Yeah, you can see how scuffed the tail looks. Look at this. It's basically just like a couple of polygons back and forth, but once you smooth that out, it gives you the nice smooth wave that I have in my final render. It's remarkable how well it worked, to be honest. Anyway, that's enough of that. Yeah, so I'd have to merge those words. I think that makes sense. I don't think it would be too difficult either. But it would be a bit manual. Ultimately, my aim is to be able to do what I've done with that one as quickly as I did it with that one. In that case, it was like 3 hours, maybe? Start to finish. And admittedly, I think it's like a great example of, or it's a great subject. Like I get a lot of leeway for lack of background, nice, just appealing shapes. And of course, like, because it's underwater and it makes sense to have that volumetric lighting, I can use said lighting and it looks lovely and it makes perfect sense for the scene. I'm just thinking that if I tried to like make a bus stop or something a bit more mundane, trying to make that look really nice, like something that looks as nice as that is just going to be, it's going to be a whole lot more work. Because simply trying to put in enough stuff that's as appealing, you have to push a lot further to make the mundane appealing. Mist pass. So like the one thing it was doing here is allowing light to scatter around the objects. Admittedly, I ended up putting an emissive plane underneath to give it an underlighting, but before I did that, and I still like the effect that it had, even when I did put that in. Essentially, the light bouncing off the upper faces of the objects and then scattering back onto the underside of the fish and stuff. That was very appealing. And it's still there, and it's far more prominent because of the like the properly rendered mist. Because I'm assuming you just mean like a depth pass that I can then just overlay or put onto screen or something in Photoshop. Because I do like those as well. They're real nice. The other thing is I've realized that for effects like that, sort of manually doing the effects in Photoshop can often give you a nicer finish, because I mean, I'm trained to use those tools to create an appealing 2D image. So when I'm not trying to worry about making an animation or something, I can just like mask stuff out, paint exactly the right, or exactly the fog I want behind everything. Omid's art. Didn't know you were doing streams. I am indeed. I've done quite a few for the mystery box characters. It's just a starting point to have control click and then have a mask you want. Stick around with the levels and it's just another tool to own. Ooh. Fair enough. I don't know, I'm gonna have to go through all of these things another time when I'm actually learning Blender rather than designing characters. For now, I must concentrate again. So, what do I want this shape in here to be? I won't forget Alt-J though. That's a real powerful one. Which Mystery Box character submissions are your favourite so far? What were their names? I can't remember the names. There's the guy who's doing the gothic vampires, and I can't remember what he was called. I've got like a feeling of his name in my head. In fact, it feels like it's very close. Nah, it's gone. I'm trying to not tab away and do random shit and just keep on drawing, but you've pushed me. So Rafael Manier is doing lovely stuff. Florian Casani, also very lovely. Where is it? I missed it. Ah, Ibrahim Swaid. Very, very cool. I really like his work so far. But I mean, you know, you can find most of those in the popular section. There was a bunch of ones which were more obscure and only had like one update or something that looked really, really cool, but unfortunately, even having liked them and commented on them, I now don't have an easy way of finding them again, because I can't list I can't list all of the entries by ones that I've liked, which is a shame. I wish that was a function of you having liked something, so that you can then filter them out per likes, but alas, it doesn't seem to be the case. I will, however, occasionally find when other people have commented, or when they're commented in response, and then I'll be like, ah, yes, that was the one I was trying to find earlier. But it's generally not very helpful because it's too late. The shape of these joints. I was originally thinking that I'd have like a disc kind of thing, and then this sort of shape coming out. It felt sort of eyelash-like. Perhaps I could do this sort of thing. Split it up further, make it feel a bit more sculptural, I guess. Oh yeah. Now I'm familiar using the fog, because I remember I think it was with Keyshot you'd export like EXR files or something, and you'd put them in Photoshop, and they'd appear black, and you'd be like, well, that wasn't very good, and Photoshop is actually treating them as an EXR file, which means you can then go into exposure and expose the information out of it. So it's sort of like a raw file, I guess. I'm not exactly sure what an EXR is, or whether that is just the file type for a raw image. But yeah, it was cool because, you know, it was just sort of one of those fun things where the image has information in that you can't initially see. Yeah, it's like a container, it's like a dump for information. Alright, I like this. So we're going to change it to either maybe 5. I think 5 would be a good number. Oh, okay. So yeah, if you basically choose in your renderer to export EXR, where am I going with this? Like whatever you choose, whatever passes you choose will all be dumped into the EXR. Quick maths. In it. I think I did it a bit wonky. It doesn't look quite right. But that's fine. It don't gotta be perfect. Actually, maybe I should actually draw out a perfect circle. Alright, so this is going to be our template. Perspective, it's going to be a bit like this. Yeah, it's going to be embedded a little bit. That looks about right. Just to go along this axis and shrink ever so slightly. Tiny bit wider at the bottom. Cool. Alright, so that's our guide. Oops, I've merged the wrong things. Oops, I've lost track of what layer I was on. There we go. Blue is the blueprint. Red is my guide. I don't know why I didn't used to use colors in Photoshop. I think it's maybe I never had a need to, but I have been using colors a lot recently. I just find it really useful. Especially when I'm doing like photo bashing of large scale subjects, and I've realized that I really need to keep track of like groups of objects, and it's just very hard to do that visually. Or purely visually. So, just chucking them into groups and coloring them. It's very, very handy. Okay, let's put the inner circle that they're all going to jump to. Rather than having loads of different PNG files, it's all just there in one place and lost the... Yeah, EXRs. That makes sense. I think I've only ever experienced it with like having a specific thing in. I just wonder, how do you sort between the different layers of information? Perhaps it's just when you drag it into Photoshop, if you have many different passes in the same EXR, it will just... yeah, it will just display them as different layers. VTool, right click on area, select. Oh, yeah, no, I use that all the time. Sorry, I see what you mean. Yeah, no, that's a savior. It's just when you're like shifting groups of stuff around. It's real nice to just be able to see exactly where everything is. But no, the being able to select a layer specifically is like a lifesaver. How many years have I been drawing? Well, I've been drawing forever. I don't know when I started as a kid. As soon as I could, presumably. In terms of years, trying to approaching drawing because I want to do it professionally. 5. 4 or 5. Maybe it's more like 4. Technically, since I left school to start doing purely art studies. But yeah, I've been very solidly just studying art during that time. How do I come up with such interesting designs? Well, I look at reference of stuff that I like, and I'm also very conscious that everyone else is coming up with interesting designs that I've got to try and get an edge on somehow. That is what competition is. And so if there's an area that I can push, then I will. I thought there was something up with my first lines. I was drawing this line out to the wrong place. Should be going there. In fact, are all of these lines going to the wrong places? Not all of them. Okay, that's good. Yeah, that one feels really wrong. I think my little notches are just whack. I don't know why my little notches are whack. I should have spotted that before. Anyway, I think that's good enough. That'll do. You normally end up coloring just by adjustment types. Ah, fair enough. So what, you do black and white? Fully black and white to start with, or do you mean coloring your Photoshop document in terms of layers? Massive amounts of weed and acid. He can neither confirm nor deny. I'll deny. That's far too cool. I'm not that cool. Oh god, how have I messed this up? There's not enough lines. What have I missed? Okay. This one is supposed to be here. I reckon this one is the one that's too far over. Because it was making me think that this shouldn't be here. But it needs to be there. Otherwise I don't have enough lines. Ah! There was a neat book that popped up the other day. Gurren Lagann, setting book. Oh yeah, I don't know if I've seen the Gurren Lagann one, but I've definitely looked through the Kill la Kill one. Is the character here sorry, and the character here is the brave, the wild? Who is he? This is leader. This is the leader of the group. This is where they will be positioned within the group. Wild's over here. This lady's wild. You color multiply layers, blue overlay orange, that kind of thing. Oh, okay, grey for guide layers. Other than that, it's a mess. Interesting. You know, I just go for more like groups instead of trying to define a specific type of layer as a certain thing. I'm more concerned with like an object. So if an object requires various layer styles to create it, then they will just be part of that object in my eyes. And most of the time it's just like if I have a ton of groups, because I'll have like large chunks of an image or of a document segmented into groups, then it's like I just want to easily distinguish them visually. Recently it's just been like me doing, it's been for work, so where I just have a large document where I'm trying to do variations of designs or adaptions of something. Then I'm trying to keep all the layers around because it makes it quicker for me to make variations or make changes. This is actually going to look a lot like a car, isn't it? I mean, I like the look of it though, so. It's fine, it looks more like eyelashes than a car. Perhaps a little slower on the quick maps next time. Exactly. Shit, you designed all? Yes. Yes. Caparelli. Hello, Mike Acevedo sent me to watch you. That's so kind. Thank you, Mike. I had no idea that he knew who I was. And when he was like, yeah, man, I've been following you for a while. I'm like, oh my god. Because I've been following him for a good while longer. He's one of the first concept art or like names I knew from the industry were Feng Zhu, because I was watching his videos, Scott Robertson, because I was watching his videos. Then there was Dan Levisi, Anthony Jones, Ross Tran, and I can't remember who the last person was, because they all had this joint interview video, or no, it was like a talk I think they were doing to a university, and that was just like the thing that was always recommended if you had shown any interest in concept art stuff on YouTube. And so I remember watching that, and so they were the people I knew, along with Mike. And I can't remember where, I think it might have been a level up session with him. And so yeah, like, because the others, well, he was like the most obviously character-based one. And I was constantly just going like, how does he do all these like crazy shapes and all this stuff? And I've studied his work a lot to basically see how he puts so much energy into his shape design. Because it feels like there's an energy in simply the way he constructs shapes, regardless of what the character is doing or what the what's actually happening in the scene. even if the character's standing still, it feels like they're moving because of the constant shift of shape in their costume or whatever it is, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. So yeah, in my mind, he's a big boy. He's one of them. He's one of those dudes. And so it was really humbling. It was like, oh my god, he knows who I am. That's amazing. He's a guy like anyone else. He's a real human being. A real human being. That's why you mentioned VTOL. You layering away, there's rarely a 5 to 6 layer in a cluster. I'm curious though, are you doing environments mostly? I mean, again, it's not too much of a comparison because what I've been doing in Photoshop for work is where I've been really needing to use these tools, and it's basically because I'm keeping documents big so that I can access everything I need at once. And yeah, I just have a ton of variations or feedback or whatever it is to make things to explore, and I just need every asset around easily accessible. So I just start hoarding stuff into layers, keeping things separate for as much as possible, and then grouping archives of layered objects so that I can then merge and refine things on their own. Ah, you missed my level up. Yeah, it's a shame. It weirds me the hell out to have these celeb-like names when there's many more people. Yeah, exactly. But this thing, that they were the ones that popped up that were basically visible online, however many years ago, or easily visible online. Because I suppose I just wasn't as good at finding resources then. I knew their names before I'd actually gone on ArtStation for the first time. Yeah. Now I'm sort of curious what people now just getting into the industry, who are the first people that they come across name-wise? Is it more diverse? Is it specifically the best from each field? Do they just pop up because they're on ArtStation, things like that? At this point, I don't really know. Be interesting to find out, but. All right, well, there's a nice feature in this design. I'm going to pop this stuff because it's potentially useful. I'm going to put this stuff on another layer. Probably this one. I'll just put it over here. Awesome. And that should look real nice when I render that and make it look nice and solid. It should be a nice inclusion that gives a good contrast to what I'm doing in the middle, which is all very amorphous. The stuff coming down here it's got decent amount of structure to it, but it's a little more ambiguous just because it's so large and it's not based on standard shapes. But that at the top, that should stand out nicely as an organic piece. Sorry, as a very mechanical looking piece in an otherwise organic design. You do everything. Thank you. Hello. That said, the only thing I've not explored in Photoshop, the only thing I've not explored is photo bashing, because it doesn't interest you for personal work. Fair enough. So I could see it smart to adopt your way for that. So yeah, I keep like the images around that I have used to bash with. I'll keep those around as in layers or in folders of layers, so that if I need the same texture again, or the same object or whatever it is, I can easily get it. Only sometimes though. Like, a lot of the time I will forget to do that kind of thing. And I used to copy everything locally and then drag it into Photoshop. I'm not sure why that was. Maybe it's before, like maybe Chrome changed something where it made it very easy to right click and copy something. Maybe that's a recent Windows thing? I sort of doubt it is, but for some reason before I felt like I had to download something locally because I couldn't just drag it in or copy it in. Not sure why, either way. The nice result of that is just that it means you have everything that you use in a folder somewhere. And so if you need it again, you just drag it in again. And yeah, as far as like dragging stuff in, I deliberately made a shortcut for rasterizing objects, because I didn't want to have to right click and whatever to rasterize a layer. And I've since had little use for that because I'm generally not dragging in reference. I'm always copying it in through clipboard. I'll be controversial. I think ArtStation is poisoned with how aggressively populist this algorithm is. It's not a place to help people learn, it's a place to siphon money from the ignorant and lazy. I'm not sure how they're siphoning money necessarily, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really have any takes on ArtStation. It's still, in my opinion, because I use it to find work that I want to see. It's the place that shows me the work I want to see, more so than anywhere else. I definitely don't think it's perfect. I don't think any place really can be. Or maybe it will get more perfect as sites are designed like based purely around like intelligent algorithms and whatever. That will show you exactly what you want to see. And be eerily good at it too. But yeah, I don't know. You sketched out all 6? Yes, I have done at this point, so I'm now refining each one in turn. Keperel, do you consider an organic draw? Would you mind rewording that question? Because I'm not entirely sure what you mean. Your old dragon image you did for DeviantArt, where you were painting outside the frame, do you have your bash images still similarly? I didn't bash at all for the dragon piece, that's all texture brushes. But no, so I see what you mean. No, I didn't store them outside the frame, I just put them on different layers. Like, sometimes I will have references on the side. I think I did it that time because it made sense to. I had like a border in Photoshop essentially because I'd made that invisible layer that I could paint into and then reveal later to show that like painting outside the frame. So yeah, I think in that case I did actually keep references and stuff on the side. how do I get the painty look to my pieces? A lot of the time it's color choice. And then beyond that, I have made brushes, I've curated brushes that I find comfortable to work with. My brushes are in the description, but as I have typically found with just installing someone else's brush pack, it's not that helpful because you're not used to using it, and like it won't feel comfortable to you. You'll find yourself asking like, how did he get that texture? And you'll find the brush that probably did it, but then not know how to use it. Yeah, my take is that like you need to basically use the brushes yourself for a while, test them out to find out what actually works for you. And ideally, go through some sort of tutorial that teaches you how to make brushes so that you know how to edit them yourself. At the moment I haven't been doing it because I've just been sketching, but when I paint I regularly change the brush settings to make it exactly how I need it to behave for like a specific application. So I will be constantly changing my brush as I use it. And I think I could store some like common variations of that as tools or whatever, but I haven't thus far. I quite like remaining active with my brush changing because it sort of keeps me on my toes almost and makes me more likely to experiment and find a new brush that gives me a different effect. Or yeah, like sometimes you may have heard other artists describe this, like just using a new brush can change the sort of artwork that they create because it feels so different to use. You use ArtStation to see art from people you want to see, that's it. And as your portfolio site. Yeah, exactly. Have you had any fun with parallaxing images by painting extra bits like that? Yes. I did that for a recent piece I did for an Instagram competition, the Nate piece. I think it's on ArtStation, you can see it. And also there's an old piece I did which was a car design that I did parallax stuff with in After Effects. I really enjoy parallax. That's what I would be making most use of if I was starting to try animation out. Like I'm just going to be doing a ton of crazy parallax stuff. Maybe a bit of 3D for like, I want to try doing like destructible things and using 3D to really capitalize on the fact that you can break an object up randomly and then have it scattered with physics and that kind of thing. Alright, his sexy shoulder is done. Unless you know brush intent, they're mostly just fun experimenting with. Yeah, exactly. You basically need to know what you want from it, and what result you will expect to get from it. The way I've learned that is studying artwork that I really enjoy, trying to recreate like a texture that I've seen another artist do, and in doing so I will find a brush that allows me to reach that texture. If you can get the original artist's brush, then that's great, but you're still going to have to experiment a bunch to be able to actually replicate what they did. Yeah, I've regularly set up with a rigid body physics and Blender so far. Yeah, I remember doing it ages ago with Cinema 4D. I made some animations. They weren't good, but they were very fun. And I never used it for anything substantial. Alright, so we're gonna have a line here, 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 there. One on the outside and two there. Ish. I love the grumpy face from inside the iris. Yeah, so what I tried to show with this face is that it's indented like the iris is. Or like, yeah, basically like the iris is, at least compared to the outer curvature of the eye. And then I wanted it to appear slightly, yeah, slightly more sunken in than that. So I think those will mostly come out when I render it, but it's indented. And I might make that more obvious by doing something like this. And it should be cool. It should look nice. Should be interesting. It's just a nice twist on what you'd expect with a concave face, which is nearly all faces. And it's got that kind of like African masky feel, which is just awesome. I like those, the look of those a lot. Smooth out this edge. It's an eye! He thought it was a sun or something. Oh, I'm surprised? I'm curious, show of hands, who thinks, or who immediately saw an eye in the head? I think it will become clearer when it's coloured, because it would be white against the other stuff, but it's sort of important. So I hope it's clear. Damn it! You see a sun? No! It's not supposed to be a sun. Alright, scrap this, redesign. This clearly doesn't work. I'm gonna have to rethink my whole lineup. Alright, so there we go, before and after. I think we have made some good changes. A lot of which will probably manifest properly when it's coloured. Yeah, hold on, I need to read this. It took you a little while to realise. You saw it as a face and didn't factor in the shape at all. I thought it was a big helmet with a crown. You were surprised too. Not even memeing, it was all zoomed out. It is pretty small. It is pretty small. Hopefully when it's, you know, when you're seeing the full resolution and it's painted, that will be a bit more obvious, but face makes you think of Ben Chang. I thought it was perfect for the leader though. Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, it's like Smo, like Dark Souls design of a face on a large shape. Just Dark Souls face on large shape. The one who shines light, illuminating. Perfect. I thought you were going for leader equals sun. Or is this inspired by Orb from Quake? Where's the mystery box in the drawing? Here! Look. Mystery box. Man, I'm really starting to doubt everything now. Let's... quickly raise that. We don't need this on. Ah, yes, we do need the box. All right. Oh, that's a pretty well enclosed shape. That's good. And now let's remove these areas. I think it's just those. It's actually quite hard to see whilst it's just black and white. There we go. Alright, here's our character. There will be some sort of similar cutouts from here. So I shall put something in like that for now, but it's not as important. I will get to it when the time comes to paint. Oh, I forgot the important place. Here. Oh, I forgot another important place. Yeah. Alright, I think that's actually it. There's the chance that I could actually sneak in a bit of negative space on this side of the body. In fact, looking at it, I think I will. Or maybe I won't. I won't. And there we go. There is this character, I think, for now, decently well refined. So how does this character walk? Knuckle dragging or walking on the hands? They walk like they are walking. They're currently in the midst of walking. They exist on a higher dimension. So does their box, hence why it opens 8 times at once. Sorry. Yeah, no, 8 times at once. Oh, also because the African mask shapes make you think of sun, because desert, yeah. That's why your brain went to sun. Ah, literal 4D being. Indeed, yes, he's walking on a plane that you just can't see. Who was around for my my little description of why he appears to be floating to us? Let's do it again because it's fun. All right, so I do use a Wacom Cintiq. I use a Intuos Pro Medium. So look, here's a cube. Well, actually, it's even better with just spheres. Yeah, this is a sphere, and we see it as 3D. I guess I'll draw a cube as well so that we can see both. And it's on a plane. So a 2-dimensional being will look at this scene, and they're only able to see a 2-dimensional slice of this scene. So they'll see something like this. If you imagine slicing the scene down the middle, that's what a 2-dimensional being is able to see. And so what they would see is this. a line at the bottom, a circle. That's not much of a circle. Neither's that. Oh god, my freehand circles are terrible. But they'll see this, a box and a cube sitting on a plane. And this makes a lot of sense, because, yeah, it's stationary, they look like they're touching the ground, they're being affected by gravity. But if this object moves this way in 3D space, of course we understand that the point of contact is still touching the plane, so it makes sense to us, but for a two-dimensional being, they'd have seen a different slice of this sphere where it looks something like this. And now they only see part of the sphere. Because if you slice through the scene now, they instead see a sphere which appears to be floating, and then a cube that's touching the ground. And it's just going to float there, it's just going to hang there, it's not touching the ground, well, at least not to the eyes of the two-dimensional being, but in the 3D plane it still is, it's still at rest, it's still obeying gravity, all that kind of thing. So this is what's going on with this character. We see a three-dimensional representation of them, but they are existing on a different plane, just in the same way that the 3D object does for the 2D viewer. And so they're walking on something which we can't see. Simple. Easy peasy. This is going to be the Klein bottle again. I'm not going to bother with the Klein bottle. We need Carl Sagan's explanation of dimensions, because I love Carl Sagan. I actually don't know what that is. Or I don't know, yeah, I don't know that specific explanation. Your internet crapped out? Oh no. Using a sphere is a good way to represent the concept. Yeah, exactly. It's the simplest shape that actually works with that demonstration. Because if you think about your other primal shapes, like even a pyramid or something is always going to be flat on the ground. A cylinder, that would work. Oops. Don't know what my tablet did just then. A cylinder would work. Not if it was standing like this, because all the slices would look like squares if you're going through, but if you had a cylinder on its side, then you would start getting a slice where if it missed this edge, you would then just see a floating rectangle. But yeah, anyway, so that's this character. Refined. Ding ding ding. Copy you, close you. Open up my block out. And now we can shift the character in and replace. So, before and after. Oh wow, so beautiful. I think they are going to be a bit higher like this. Yeah, they're a bit bigger now, but that is okay. I want them to be a bit more present. I think it's nice that this character is clearly larger than the rest of the group. And Brave is still going to be relying on the leader for sight. These two are going to be a pair. I'm hoping it's not it's not also very hidden, but the point of this character is that they are blind and they have the eye closed symbol on their face. This one has the big eye open. They're a pair. This one sees everything that's visible and more, because they're a fourth dimensional being, and this character sees nothing that the eye would see, but understands like through augmented senses. And like the whole point of their character is that they can understand, like they get insight into whatever object they put into their mystery box. So like they can see hidden forces, hidden powers. Maybe if you put a little hamster in, they'll be able to understand what that hamster was thinking. I might need to make the box a little less cramped so that bigger objects could go in there, but the idea with all these boxes is that they kind of like give the wield a power rather than specifically needing things to go into them. Yeah, for those who haven't seen the lineup, we have Joy, who's all based around sort of allowing ideas to stew and transform. So she can transform stuff that she puts in her mystery box, which is a big pop. But she's also like the backbone of the team. The leader actually leads them, but the Joy is like the moral support, or she's like the mum of the group. Also the most normal of all the characters. And then we have little Brainstorm Boy, who's like the group's calculator. His whole shtick is just the idea of the two halves of the brain working in synergy, the creative and analytical side. And something, you need both parts of the brain to support like fully realized thought, something like that. I'm going to work out all of these things in a more eloquent way to describe them, but he has his little cube and his big brain. Just describe these two: insight and like holistic view, basically. And then there's the mischievous boy, who's like all about summoning sort of spontaneous creation, spontaneous ideas, conjuring up something in your mind, that kind of thing. So he's a little wizard guy and can sort of pull things from different dimensions through his box. Being the mischievous character, he's also got like traps and stuff. And then Wild down here is like purely instincts. So they're animalistic. They have a sense for things that none of the other characters can. Like if something's approaching, they'll definitely be the first one to realize. And so, yeah, they're like sort of almost like a lookout for them. And is compared to all the other characters, which sort of look at what's there in front of them. Like the gut feeling of Wild will always be trusted by the rest of the group because they know that it's based on something which they can't like define with logic or anything. No, I know Carl Sagan. I just don't know his exact description of the dimensions. I haven't heard it, seen it, whatever it is. 40 aliens don't want me to know the truth. It's a big hat to stop her from slamming into walls. Exactly. The hat's gonna poke the wall before she gets to it. I wanted something to put a reflection in. It's very faint at the moment, but being all about insight and like not having like a actual view of herself. That's why her body's going to be transparent. You'll see inside her. I need to put back in the little love heart. I forgot about that. So self-reflection also fits into her character of like basically mindfulness, that kind of thing. And so the self-reflection bit is just going to be very obviously put in with the mirrored underside of her cap. And you'll see her face reflected back and maybe other parts of her body. Her gloves and shoes are like some sort of techie thing that gives some sort of enhanced sensations. So like on her tips of her fingers, and on the soles of her shoe, but arranged like her toes and heel. Okay, the character I have not basically I'm happy with Wild. There'll be some things I can change, but Wild is my favorite in terms of pose and just general appearance. So I don't think I need to do anything before I go into color. It's only Brainbox Boy, little Brainstorm Boy. I haven't touched him since the very beginning of the challenge. So it's about time I did. Otherwise, good progress. We can start painting soon. Oh yeah, I didn't actually go through them all, but because they all have to fit the themes, like the main restriction of the actual challenge is just you have to do each of the personality types. We have joyful here, leader here, brave, serious, mischievous, and wild. Have you heard of the two-person idea where you cut the link between the hemispheres? I haven't. I didn't think that was... I didn't know it had been extrapolated to the extent that they figured they could create two personalities just by slicing down the middle. I haven't heard of that, but it's based on, obviously the idea of the two hemispheres of the brain. That's pretty cool, though. Yeah, I hope it definitely gives them depth. What I hope is that I can communicate these ideas with some sort of background information that goes alongside them, so that it's not hidden. Like, I need that sort of stuff to be understood, otherwise the choices I've made are sort of arbitrary, to at least to the judges. So my current plan is, in the background of these characters, I'm going to have like one of those like word jumble things where you've got like words basically used as a pattern for the background. And they'll say things that should hopefully communicate the ideas that went into the character design. So the leader, for example, the huge hands are about them having like a total grasp of a situation or the full grasp of an idea. She stores her, or they do, they're ambiguous. They store their information in here because it's a big place to store information, but you can have a bunch of things drawn from that, like strength being built on knowledge. So her huge, big, strong arms built on the knowledge that they've gathered. And so, things like that. The feet, I liked the idea of just leaving the footprints. I think that's cool. But also, ways that you might draw up a plan, you might make blueprints. So I think having some sort of nod to the creation of blueprints in the footprints, it's fun. It's a small detail, but I like putting that kind of thing in. And then there's more obvious things, just like they have like the little cartographer thing there, and they'll probably have some stuff that they can draw stuff out with. What I'd also like to put on with the concept sheet is some extra poses of them doing specific things. So the leader, for example, I'm going to show standing and pulling out some of their plans or something. So they can stand like this, and their arm can come forward, and all of the scrolls and stuff, they can pull out the scrolls if they want to and hold them up. And then I might also show them in a sitting pose or something, with the arms used to hold open the thing that they're currently working on, and they can be using their little cartographer tools and whatever to work on a new idea or whatever it is. And the box can be just floating overhead and almost being a lookout or something. So I plan to have little examples of them doing stuff. What I'd also like to show is just them being the lead of the group. Things in the final... that's a bit much. Whatever. Oh, there we go. I don't think it supports this anymore, but at one point I was thinking that if the layout suited it, I could have this boy, because he's young and whatever, he can be really close to the leader and have his arm out and holding on to one of the fingers. I don't think I'm going to be able to do this because he'd have to be far too close. But imagine the finger was up so that he could hold on to it. I think it could be real cute. So he's just holding on to mum or dad's hand or whatever. I don't think I can do that though, so I probably won't. But I will definitely make sure that Brave is clearly interacting with the leader. So they're scrolls. You thought mechanical details. So that's the thing. It's supposed to look like mechanical sort of articulation points of the arm. things that imply strength, but it's, yeah, in this case, of course, it's also blueprints, scrolls, knowledge, that kind of thing. Yeah. 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 Joyful is actually another fun one, because Joyful has all the things that she needs to cook food on her. She'll have like the chopping board on her arm, and I'm imagining that basically when they set up to cook, they will like have the arms basically sort of create a big loop like this, with like chopping board and blah blah blah, and she'll be able to like stand in the middle and like do whatever she needs to do to cook, and then the pot will be to the side or something on its little stand. She's got like a little Bunsen burner heater thing for it, and she can chop up her goodies and make a tasty stew. So yeah, those are my plans. But they will have to come after I actually render the characters, because that's the priority. Alright. What has been linked? Simple video but fun concept. I won't get back to that then. It's nice when there's some effort in the world building instead of Sci-Fi Gun goes brrr. Yeah, I haven't actually seen much of that so far, which is nice. Galaxy Brain. Am I reading Dungeon Meshi? No, I'm not. But I'm not watching or reading anything at the moment because I'm hard at work. These characters make me feel a bad character designer. You should not. They're a bit of a jumbled mess at the moment. There's a bunch of nice ideas, but like I've had to explain them to you. So, you know, I can put all the depth in the world into these designs, but unless they can be communicated through normal viewing, like not having me to hold your hand through it, they might look nice, but they won't be successful as characters. Not fully, at least, and not fully successful for this task. So I need to make sure I work on that. That's essentially what I want to do next, is go through and find out the exact list, the exact names, all of the ideas that I have put in so far, and then I want to emphasize and make sure that they're clear, or as clear as they can be. Like it's fine if there's a bunch of things that people miss, but I need to make sure I don't forget that I plan to have stuff like the reflectivity in her costume and stuff like that. Okay, brainstorm. Actually, it's late. This may have to be the last minute or two. Give me a sec. I'll find out when I'm going to bed. For now, we can do some of him. So the main thing that I feel compared to the rest is that there's like a very repetitive nature to his arms. And something I was going to do to fix that is just having like interesting translucency and sort of implication of information going through it. I want to have some sort of electricity too, because he's supposed to look like a kind of like a cloud that's raining. Or the idea was that it was coming from like the idea of a brainstorm. Oh, that would be cool. I can have like this sort of bright electricity pulsing through the arms. But it's worth also reconsidering their shape, just in case that's also something I need to change. Their like soft squishy roundedness also does at the moment stand out quite a bit from the rest of the group. But I imagine that if I go and do... If I do the right sort of rendering on it, then I think it can look more organic. So it should be okay. My paragraphs of Sonic OC, exactly. How are you doing the challenge right now? But it's doing to refine some stuff. Is it off on that station? Do you want to link it? Yeah, so what do I need to do? I think his clothing can be emphasized. At the moment it's very minimal. But I do like the cute little shorts that he's got. It's fun. And his box is tiny, which is nice because it gives some variation to the other ones, but I think it needs to be a bit more visible. Or at least prominent in his pose or whatever it is. So, if I just select out the bits that I'm pretty confident I like, copy them out, and then we can sort of go from there. So I don't know exactly how I'm going to do all of this like attachment stuff to the head. I think I'll want to show something that supports it. Like physically supports it. Although I suppose that that's really the arms, because he's like, you can think of it as him hanging from the brain because the arms that are attached to it support him. Okay. These glasses are well wonky. In fact, maybe his whole head is. Wait, he's holding a box? Yes, he is. He is holding a little box. I think I need to make these glasses smaller. Although ideally not covering up one of his eyes. He just looks a bit derpy now. Maybe this isn't the right approach. What did I do with the other ones previously? Because I might actually need to change the angle of it. I had forgotten that I was planning to change the angle. Maybe I don't need to change the angle. No, it's okay. It's okay. But I do need to make sure my perspective is constant. I think that's the one thing that is off clearly about him. It's just that I need to put... I'll steal the grid from the leader. I'll take that. What does he match currently? It's like this, I think. It's a fairly extreme difference from top to bottom. But I think I want to push it a bit more because ultimately their look in the lineup I can tweak and squidge around. I'm more interested in making sure that they look cool. individually, because I think ultimately they're going to be judged, individually, so that they're actually being able to see the details and that kind of thing. Oh yeah, Eliza, let's have a look. You picked an angelic theme. He thought his big brain was the box. You lower how sensitive Photoshop when you're transferring near a screen border. Yeah, it's really weird. It's like, whoop, there you go. Up into space. That's a really cute mind map, like board of exploration. Yeah, these silhouettes look lovely. There's a really lovely energy to them. Nice one. I'm keen to see where you go with that. Really keen. You're doing props for a change. Cool. I thought it might be fun to try props if somehow there's like a ton of time left over. But I don't think there's gonna be. I'm keen, am I? Yes, indeed. Yes, I used keen a lot. This kid is freaking me out. You're also working for the prop challenge. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Was Beyond Human 3 years ago? Wow. I feel like I remember like I was potentially going to do Beyond Human and then didn't have time for some reason, but I'm not sure. Not sure why that was. Something a bit more like that. Let's go for that kind of historical looking bridge. And it can shoot off behind his ears. Shadab, what's up? Can you show how you construct a body? Peeps is a filtered word now. Is it? I can see it. Or are you just saying because you really dislike peeps? Because I'm not a huge fan of the word peeps. I'll use it occasionally because it's like an ironic fringe greeting. At least it is to me. But that could just be because I have teachers that would constantly use it. And it would make us all go. Khan TV, thank you so much for the raid. What's up? How you doing? How was your stream? What have you been up to? You need to use more street lingo. Do you eat good food and say it was paying? Yeah, I say things but paying. I didn't get to the constructing a body bit. How to construct a body? I can roughly go through it. Or at least sort of generally what I do. I mostly just think about having a head with a little chin, or a big chin if you're a man, or a masculine character. And then any of the character I'm thinking about roughly where the ribs are, and the midriff. And these are kind of like, at least on a female body, I'm thinking like kind of guitar pick shaped. And typically in whatever pose you're using, imagine those rotated to the side and like intersecting a bit like this. It's nice to see a natural sort of push forward of the chest slightly. And so those sort of guitar pick shapes, they just intersect in the middle, and they give you, like the bottom of the top one can kind of give you a sense of where the ribs might be. And then this one will probably point roughly to where the belly button will be. And then, I don't know a good way to describe the shape of the thighs, but like within this shape here, you've got like the iliac crest. I think a lot of people describe this as like a big bowl. And this is where the hip bones are. And then this is where like, I'm not sure exactly what to call them, because these are like your lower hip bones, and this is like the upper part. So this is the widest part of the body. And then this is the top of that same bone structure. Like the bone underneath looks a bit weird. It's a bit like this. It's kind of goofy. I don't think about it too much. I'm more concerned with just like the top and bottom parts. Also, Calm, whilst I'm just going through this, do you have anything you want to share with everyone? When I'm done with this, I want to go and check out your stream. But yeah, and then basically it's just putting in legs underneath. The main thing that I think about with thighs is like, at least if you're making appealing ones, on male or female, is that generally you have like a bulge, the widest part somewhere in the middle. And then just thinking about the way they intersect with the knee is important to making them look muscular or appealing. And from the front, you'll always see that coming down from the hip bone, like your humerus. Is that the humerus? God, I always forget. Kind of bends inwards, and the point where it gets to the knee, like this side is always going to poke out more than it will on the other. So from the front, a leg will look kind of like this, and then it will shoot off to the right slightly. This is where that bone is poking in there, your kneecap, and then you have a bend out this way instead. And emphasizing this stepping point, I think, is very important. A lot of the time it gets ignored. And if you rotate this to the side, then that looks like this. So the thigh coming in from the top. And making sure that you have this step in, I think is just really important to making an appealing looking leg. Shapes don't matter as long as them thighs are thick. Exactly. Skin dentation, thigh highs. UK, and you started streaming 2 hours ago. Is it short stream? Would you prefer streaming at night? I'm gonna finish just before 12. It's just because I work during the day, do some like relax for a bit, and then find time to stream. And by that point, yeah, it's gotten later in the day. So I typically end up streaming in the evening around this time. Anyway, yeah. So I don't have too many other sort of things that are worth like bearing in mind. But feet at first, just think of them as like some sort of triangle shape. The important thing is that they widen out a lot at the front. And they're much longer where the big toe is than where the little toe is. So, like without defining toes, from the top, you always just want to make sure that you've kind of got this angle. The dip on the inside, the heel at the back, and then this sort of shape where the ankle joins there. So constantly when I'm thinking about feet, it's just, this is where the pivot can take place. So like this bit might be solid coming down, and then this bit can actually squidge back up like that. This is rigid. This is one place that it can rotate, and then this is the other place that it can rotate. So yeah, they're my main thoughts on doing the feet. As for arms, I don't think there's anything particular, except that like their general length should come down to that sort of length below the crotch, like the hand's length almost below the crotch. Just look at yourself in a mirror. I think a lot of the time I see arms that are too short, and they always feel very stubby to me. In terms of like that kind of flow in and out, typically your bicep is going to hang a little lower, and so there's a bit of that kind of in and out motion. But arms can often be a lot straighter unless they're very muscular or very fatty. And when it comes to hands, kind of in the same way that the feet have like some major points where they twist and turn, the hand is kind of a fairly static shape plus a thumb on the side. So your fingers will poke out from here and your thumb pokes out from there, and like that part can rotate quite a bit through here, depending on whether your thumb's up or down. So you can have hands that kind of look like this, where all the fingers coming out, and then the thumb's like going straight down like that. Or you can do the opposite, and the thumb can like poke up, and all those fingers can still be going straight. So this is like a major point that you need to think about that you can rotate along. Yeah, that's sort of about it. Just remember, like with the feet, that you need to be making sure you have like a rotation point here and here for the fingers. It's great to simplify fingers onto a plane roughly, and then like add one that's different. It makes it easier to read. Anyway, that's roughly my thoughts on the body. Unfortunately, I don't have like a clear. I always draw out a skeleton first with like these points or something. I don't do that. I typically just sort of work from a starting point and build outwards. Yeah, so, and I'm not sure why that is. I think it's because I never really learned a specific way to construct the body. I didn't do like the Loomis method or anything like that. I kind of absorbed it by just constantly drawing characters and observing where artists were doing things specifically to make their characters look better than mine. So just like hardcore comparison of the character poses you have drawn with those of artists you think look great. That's the best way to work out what is working and what isn't. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of this upper body because I think it's weak. I don't think it adds much. I do, however, like his legs. I think they're fun. They kind of nicely show his passive but kind of strict feeling nature, like he's sort of no nonsense. But I think the upper body could be far more interesting. I might go for like a similar kind of interesting folds and stuff, that like overwhelming folds that the leader now has, because it'll add a bit more interest, and like these can now dangle in between all this stuff and add a bit of contrast to everything else in here. Also, it nicely emphasizes like the having clothing that's too big for your body. Also, I'm going to quickly look through the chat and see if there's any important things that I missed. Should have just asking for pics of my feet. No, sorry, I don't have an OnlyFans yet. How you build, if you draw shapes or skeleton, things like that. Oh, I see. Cool. Could have probably looked at that before I did all that, but whatever. I'm thinking mostly in shapes a lot of the time. And gesture. Yeah, nuances can make or break a drawing. Thanks for the explanation of drawing bodies. Yeah, I'll try and, again, it's like something I'd like to put on the list of actually make like a proper tutorial or something for. But I mean, so many good ones exist. I would essentially be adding like, yeah, my specific approach and my specific like lineup of things that I make sure are correct, or I make sure that I focus on when I'm drawing. And that's sort of what I went over this den. That those are the areas that I see like regularly neglected. So they're the things that I would suggest most people to like think about more than they currently are. And yeah, this boy did skip leg day. I sort of like the slight impression that he's like potentially like it has the vibe of like a wheelchair bound character, and that would fit quite well. There's no need for it particularly, but that sort of, if it looks like that's the point, then that's okay. It's certainly not something I'm going to avoid. So like the weakish skinny legs makes sense in that case because of the, yeah, like the muscle dystrophy. Is that the right word? Dystrophy? Deterioratophy? I can't remember. People get it in space. Atrophy. Atrophy. Okay, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. That makes more sense. Yeah, it'll be atrophy. Atrophy. Muscle atrophy. What's the thing on his head? Oh, it's a brain. It's not necessarily his brain. It kind of is his brain. Yeah, it's his brain. It's got a big brain. But he's the group calculator, so he needs it. He does all the big think. Also, yeah, Khan TV. Sorry, I didn't see any other messages from you. If you've left, then that's absolutely fine. I just wanted to make sure that I actually checked out your account. Ooh, they've been doing a cool looking dragon. And they have an art station. Excellent. Another character artist. Wonderful. These are really cool. Ooh, I like that booty. Everyone check them out. That one's real nice. What if he's got a game console in his hands? Well, he could I was thinking that he could be holding his cube kind of like a console. Before it was just kind of there, but a previous idea for the cube was that it would kind of split apart in interesting ways. This was my sort of terrible drawing of one of those cubes that, like those puzzle cubes that slide together in strange ways. But I think that would work quite well. Actually, yeah, a Rubik's Cube also came to mind. I'm not going to give him a straight up Rubik's Cube because that doesn't really exemplify my creativity. Which is sort of the point. But the actual act, like the movements that you make when you solve a Rubik's Cube would be perfect for him. Oh, this could be cute. He could kind of be like wrapped up in a little blanket. Or at least a blankety looking high fashion garb. Element configuration from Hellraiser. I don't know what that is, I'm afraid. Is that your art station? No, sorry, this is I've forgotten the name again. Person who raided. Khan TV. Scroll back up and follow Khan TV because got a real cool art station. I just wanted to link it because I think he had left. So I'm gonna have to do some external promotion for him. My sketches look like a Hellraiser cube. Ah, cool. Okay, so his arms are gonna be in there, kind of like that. And so it's gonna be poking out like this. Hey, it's the cool guy! What's up, cool guy? How you doing? I promise everyone, I don't pay them to say this. Nor do they pay me to say that back to them. So the cube could be in here, kind of doing something, and like the back panels could be opening up or something, and he's clicking them away with his fingers. I think that could be cool. Working on assignments. Oh. Eliza, well, I'm going to be leaving soon too, so don't worry. Thank you for joining. Farewell. Peace. I wish I could just end global warming like that. That'd be great. I would feel very satisfied that I'd actually made like a tangible, significant improvement on other people's lives. I think that would be like a big satisfaction. think you'd really feel that. I think you'd be like, ah, yeah, that felt good. I'm still not sure what this needs to look like. Maybe he should have it up. I think up will make it a little more clear what's going on. So if he's kind of holding it up like this. I think that'll help us out. Also be a nice way to give some like pinching to the fabric here. So it's gonna kind of come up like this. I want that kind of like smooth arm poking down, or the wrist bent down in a very relaxed way, like a very sort of confident. Imagine someone who really knows their way around a controller. Maybe that's still too high. Doing brainstorm classes. Hey, awesome. Damn, you're getting good without me. No, you. You what? What you working on, cool guy? I'm working on ArtStation Challenge. Have you seen any of the ArtStation Challenge so far? This is my current lineup for the ArtStation Challenge. Mystery Box. We were just finishing up this dude, the leader of the group. We have since the beginning we have done first sketches and now like a refined sketch of most of the characters, apart from this boy who has been neglected since the beginning, so we're currently giving them a polish, but yeah, these are the rest. Also, I think that's gonna have to be it for today. Because work tomorrow. Yo. I think this is going to all end up looking a lot nicer, a lot more interesting with the variation. Like having a big area of cloth that can drape down over this stuff will look cool. And then I'll like sort out the head, the brain, and it tilts forward, but I still want to make it feel like we're looking up at the brain. As for the limbs, I'll work out exactly what sort of style I want, but I do quite like the chubby little hands. Yeah, and then just find out other places we can sort of splash in some interesting detail. But for now, I've got to say goodnight to him. Oh, you missed the leader? Yeah, I just basically compared to before, I've added a bunch of cool cloth hanging down, and it should be a real pain to render, but if I render it well, it'll be worth it. It'll definitely be worth it.
Like, I'm really happy with my...
Ooh, this looks nice. We're going to raid Fanged Bunny because we haven't for a while. Is that gonna work? Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately you came right at the end, which is a shame. Wish you could have been here for longer, but enjoy your streams if you plan to stream soon. I feel like I suggested it before, but we should still aim to actually just like hang out at some point over voice and stream together. I think it'd be really fun. Hold me to that. Don't let that just evaporate into the ether. That's a real suggestion. I mean it. Anyway, good night, everyone. Thanks for joining. And farewell. Yeah, you can join the server, or at least you can just befriend me on Discord. That's a more direct way. Anyway, farewell. Thank you for joining. Bye-bye.